How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, my name is Drew, and this is where I discuss the college experience as well as some current events and topics within the world of higher education. And I wanted to create a follow-up to an older video I had created about how many semesters you should ideally take within a semester, because I was getting a lot of questions about wanting to take more than 15 credits, which is usually, at least within a semester system, the average number for full-time students to take in order to graduate within 4 years for a bachelor's degree. And so a lot of these questions were, what about if I take 18 credits or 21 credits? What does that look like? And it really made me think, because there are so many more variables that come into play that I did not discuss in that last video. So first, if you are looking at taking more than 15 credits, one of the things you have to consider is, what is your major? So if you are a sociology major compared to an electrical engineering major, the kinds of classes you're going to take are going to be very different in terms of rigor and demand. So what I mean by that is, sociology, you will be doing a lot of research and writing and kind of class discussions about some of these topics, whereas engineering is very STEM focused, right? So it's going to be a lot of math and science courses. And how do you do with balancing the mental demand and the work of having to navigate those math and science courses? Because if you're a sociology major, maybe that's a general requirement for your degree where you are taking one math course and the rest are more of these social sciences related. And that can be a little bit easier to balance in terms of what those classes or those courses are expecting of you as a student. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider with your major is, what classes do you need to complete that degree? And so, for example, when we are talking about that, we're talking about major specific courses. And that's when you get into the upper division. So those very specific courses, those are the ones you really want to take and that are not part of the general requirements that play towards the bachelor's degree overall. A lot of these classes move in sequence. So what I mean by that is, you might have to take a gateway course. So we will say, intro to electrical engineering. And that is a prerequisite to the rest of the courses that are specific to the electrical engineering degree. You cannot take any courses beyond that at the same time. Sometimes you might be able to in specific instances, but generally you're not until you complete that intro course. So if your plan is to take many credits and try to speed up your graduation date, because of how the major is outlined with those course sequences, you may not be able to do that. You may have to pass that course first, and then you can move on one course at a time. And that's not always a bad thing. Because of what those courses are, because of how specific and demanding they are, the programs are usually set up in a way for you to steadily pace yourself through that, so you are actually obtaining the knowledge and the content and really starting to think about, what does this mean as I build on this knowledge and work towards a degree and eventually a career. So that is usually by design, and it is with good intentions. The other thing that you need to think about is, what are those course offerings? So going back to the sequences, maybe you can double up on some of these courses. However, some specific courses may only be offered in the fall or the spring, and you will have to wait until the following semester to be able to take those courses anyway. So that can also slow your pace, and that can maybe a little bit frustrating. And that is because of a few other reasons, but that is also one thing to consider if you're trying to take more than 15 credits per semester and try to graduate early. You also may be at a school that works on a quarter system, and it is slightly different because the quarters are compressed into 10 to 12 weeks, and you may be able to take additional courses within a quarter. But ultimately, it comes back to what I had discussed in the original video of, what are your study habits like? How are you managing your time? And how are you going to manage the additional workload with taking those courses? But that may alter your plans a bit if you are working on a quarter system. And so it may be tempting, and I know a lot of students, they really just want to speed things up, and they just want to finish, and they just want to get into the workforce, and they want to start making money. But it may not always be possible. And in many ways, you need to step back and ask yourself, if this is something you're considering, is it really going to be worth it? Because when you think about this general rule where for every credit that you're taking of classes, you need to be spending 3 hours per week studying for that class, and you add that up with all the credits you're taking, it's going to be more than a full-time job just to be a full-time student taking those additional courses. So what other responsibilities do you have? Are you caring for relatives? Are you financially supporting others? Do you have to work? And how are you going to manage all of that? And if you are able to manage that, is it going to be worth it? I mean, ultimately, is it going to be fun? Because to a certain degree, this experience is supposed to be enjoyable, and you are supposed to enjoy the challenge and interacting with others and really taking in the student experience as a whole. So what happens if all your time is just going to working and studying and sleeping, even if you are having time to sleep? And then what happens if you burn out and you have no time to recharge? Because that's where it can get dangerous, because you could start to slip in some of those courses, and it can get to a point where you're failing and your only options are to try to pick it up and salvage a passable grade, or withdraw without a refund and then having to retake the course in a later semester. And that completely takes you off track of what your plan was to take more than 15 credits and try to graduate sooner. So these are a lot of things to think about. Some are out of your control, such as the course sequences and the course offerings, and some things are in your control, but you really need to know yourself. How do you manage your time? How do you manage stress? What responsibilities do you have? And then at the end, you do need to talk to an advisor about this. You need to tell them your plan and what you want to do, because in most cases, if not all, an advisor does need to sign off on you taking additional credits. So if you go meet with them and you say, well, I want to take 21 credits this semester and leave it at that, more likely than not, they're going to say, no, I don't approve of this. So what you need to do is have a game plan and have a discussion about that game plan so that they know you are aware of what the demand is going to be, what some of those challenges are going to be for you as you move through the semester, and how you're going to address those challenges. So think about these things. Think about what works for you, what doesn't. Think about if it's realistic and if it will ultimately pay off. It may not, and it may just be wishful thinking, and that's okay too, because your goal is just to finish. It's not about how soon or how late. It's just to finish and to get that degree. And that's what you need to keep your eye on. And there are so many ways to accomplish that. And that's what I hope to do with this channel, is continue to provide these perspectives and these pieces of advice, and just keep things at the forefront of your mind so you're thinking about this as you go through the college experience. So as always, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking, if you do have plans or if you're thinking about certain things of time management, and we'll go from there. We'll have that discussion, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.